Hi everyone, welcome back to another lesson of Actual English with me, Jennifer Clyde. It's time for Lesson 18. Now we have been talking about things that are related to food, of course, and today let's focus on our favorite kinds of food. So what is your favorite dish, favorite kind of food? What would it be? Well, as for me, I can definitely tell you that I am not a meat person. I am more of a fish or seafood person, meaning I really enjoy eating seafood and fish. There was a point, I would say maybe about 2 years ago. Up until 2 years ago, I did not eat meat for about 5 years. It wasn't because I chose not to eat meat because I didn't want to. For some reason, for about 3-4 years, I just couldn't go near meat. I couldn't stand the smell of red meat. I just couldn't eat meat. So yeah, 3 years, I guess survived without eating meat. But since about 2 years ago, I've been eating a little bit of meat again. But definitely, once again, my favorite food would have to be seafood. Now, when you're talking about today's topic, such as your favorite food, you can talk about what I just mentioned. You know, what kinds of food you like, such as meat or seafood. You may like chicken, for example, spicy foods or salty foods. But you can also focus on maybe your favorite restaurant, why that restaurant is your favorite restaurant, what kinds of food they serve, what is so special about that dish. You can talk about a special dish that your mother makes for you, like her special recipe, moving on or continuing on from our previous lesson, and focus on that as well. Today we'll be talking about many more. We'll even talk about Peter's favorite dish and a place that was once his favorite restaurant back in the States. So, well, stay tuned for that. Here is today's actual talk.
Speaking of cooking, what are your favorite restaurants?
I don't have a particular favorite restaurant, but I love eating meat. Anything to do with meat, I'm sold.
So you're not a fruits and vegetables type of girl?
I love a good fruit salad as well, but I do have to have a piece of meat on the table every single meal. So if it's
helpful, yeah.
Yeah, if it's not red meat, it has to be fish. If it's not fish, it has to be chicken. So anything meaty has to be on the table at every single meal.
Portobello mushrooms can be very meaty.
Oh, no, it's not the same. It's not the same. It has to be on the side, but I do have to have a good piece of meat. You look like you could throw a good barbecue.
I love barbecuing, and forget restaurants. I like to go to my friend's house who's barbecuing some bratwurst and some,
You're talking
corn
about
on the
sausages, right?
Yeah, corn on the cob and things like that. But I had a favorite restaurant back in Minneapolis. It was called Buca Little Italy, and it's family style Italian, which means they serve.
Big,
they don't give you
meals.
they don't give you each a plate. They give you one huge platter in the center, and you share, because that's the way you would eat at a family in Italy. So it was a really fun experience. I very much enjoyed going there. I haven't been there in years though.
Oh no!
Yeah.
So you're gonna go back soon and try it out?
Maybe next summer.
Oh, nice. You should let me know where it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd enjoy it.
What about you? Do you get out to restaurants much?
In Korea, yes. I think most of the meals are eaten outside the home. But they have a lot of good grilling, Korean barbecue grill places. So if it's not pork belly, it's red meat. And the marbling on the steaks. They just melt in your mouth.
Yeah.
And the chewiness as well.
You're making me hungry now.
Yeah. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
let's go hit one of the restaurants.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Well, I would say that today's actual talk was quite simple. It was to the point. Nothing too complicated, right? Pretty much, Peter, he likes to eat all kinds of food. Joanne seems to be crazy about meat, right? She did even mention that she has to have meat on the table every single meal. If not, she will refuse to eat. So she likes fish, seafood, chicken, red meat, you name it. When it comes to meat, well, she loves it. She is a meat lover. Let's find out what else they talked about, okay? Line by line. Beginning first with what Peter said. He said, speaking of cooking, meaning since we're on the topic of cooking, since we are talking about cooking. Now, this is actually a wonderful way to talk about something or to begin talking about something. Hey, speaking of cooking, what are your favorite restaurants? So the focus here is, first of all, favorite restaurants, all right? Now, Joanne says, I don't have a particular favorite restaurant, but I love eating meat. Boom, there you go. So it's very simple. She says it, I love eating meat. You don't have to use difficult words. Try to make it sound fancy. They say the best rule is to make it simple, keep it simple, so that others will understand what you're saying. It's really important, right? Anyhow, she says, I don't have a particular favorite restaurant. Particular here basically is a word meaning specific, special. So in other words, you can also say, I don't have a special restaurant. I don't have a specific favorite restaurant. And then she says, but I can tell you this much, I love eating meat. Anything to do with meat, I'm sold. I love this expression. So she says, anything that has to do with meat or anything to do with meat, I'm sold. I'm sold. What could that possibly mean? In order to sell something, well, of course, the other person, the consumer, needs to pay for it, right? But in this case, she is saying, for example, you don't need to give me money. Well, I'll just give myself to you. Meaning, I'm sold. Well, I'm all for it. I love it. I'm sold. I'll do anything for meat, in other words. Okay? Moving on, Peter says, so you're not a fruits and vegetables type of girl? It's very simple. So the point is, you're not a fruits type of person. You're not a vegetables type of girl. And she says, well, I love a good fruit salad as well. Meaning, I like fruits and vegetables. Okay? But I have to have, okay? I have to have a piece of meat on the table every single meal. Now, this part is underlined for you. By now, you probably know what I'm going to do for you in the, in just a few minutes, because if it's underlined, it means we will be going over that pattern. We'll be practicing that pattern. But she says, I must have. I have to have a piece of meat, a kind of meat, a chunk of meat on the table every single meal. So every single meal, meaning every time I eat. If it's not red meat, it has to be fish. If it's not fish, it has to be chicken. So she's giving examples of what kinds of meats she enjoys eating. It has to be. You might even say it must be meat. You can say that, but I would say it sounds a lot more natural to say, it has to be something. It's gotta be something, okay? So try using it has to be, it has got to be in place of must, okay? So red meat in this case is what? Red meat such as beef or even pork is red meat, and chicken is often expressed as white meat, okay? Keep that in mind. So once again, she stresses, so anything meaty has to be on the table every single meal. Anything meaty, what does that mean? Meat. Of course, we're talking about meat, such as beef or pork or chicken. Anything that is like meat, meaning anything meaty, any kind of meat. Now, Peter says portobello mushrooms can be very meaty, meaning that it has a texture, you know, a very meat-like texture. Now, portobello mushrooms are just a type of mushrooms. And he says, well, that's like meat too. It's meaty. It's kind of chewy as well, just like meat. And she says, oh, no, it's not the same. How can you compare the two? It's not the same. I have to have a good piece of meat. She stresses once again. You look like you could throw a good barbecue. We often have barbecues. You can also throw a barbecue. Peter says, I love barbecuing. You could add ing there, of course, to the verb form of barbecue and say, I love to barbecue or I love barbecuing. And I like to go to my friend's house who's barbecuing some bratwurst. It's just a type of sausage, as you may have noticed. Joanne did point that out. So he's saying, oh, I love barbecuing sausages, or bratwurst, or some corn on the cob. Corn on the cob, I think we often, maybe not. I don't think I've seen many of that in Korea, but corn on the cob basically is corn that's stuck in a kind of a skewer, a stick. Okay, and he says, and things like that. Yeah, corn on the cob is a great, I guess, barbecue menu. You can grill it on the barbecue. Now, Peter says, but I had a favorite restaurant back in Minneapolis. Remember we talked about back home, back at home. Same thing here. The at home or home is omitted, so you can simply say, I had a favorite restaurant back home or back in Seoul, back in Daejeon. Okay, that means in that location. So he's saying back in Minneapolis, it was called Buca Little Italy. Of course, that's the name of the restaurant. And it's family style Italian. Family style Italian is just, I guess, a way of serving food. It's just a type of Italian restaurant. And then he explains, just in case you don't know what a family style Italian restaurant is, they don't give you each a plate. Whereas in many Western cultures, unlike Korea, they give you separate plates, separate dishes for you only to enjoy. Whereas in Korea, of course, we get our rice and perhaps soup, but we share the side dishes and the stew in the center, right? Or whatever you're grilling on the table. But he says, well, although it's Italy, they don't give you each a plate. They don't give each person a separate plate. They give you one huge platter, one huge dish in the center, and you share. Meaning you all, dive into the dish all together. You share the food. That's the way you would eat in a family in Italy. I did not know that. I learned. Now, he says, so it's a really fun experience. You can talk about food, going to a restaurant, and express it by saying it's a really fun experience. I haven't been there in years, though. And Joanne says, oh, nice. You should let me know where it is. I think I would enjoy it. Now, here's a question for Joanne. Peter says, what about you? Do you get out to restaurants much? Get out, meaning go out. In this case, it means, do you get the chance to go out to go to restaurants? Okay? Do you get out to restaurants much? She says, in Korea, yes. And then she explains, they meaning Korea, have a lot of good Korean barbecue grill places. Okay. You can call them just barbecue places or barbecue grills or barbecue grill places. Places in this case does not necessarily mean location, it means restaurant. So she's saying there are, or they have, a lot of good Korean barbecue grill restaurants. So if it's not pork belly, we know pork belly, we're talking about samgyeopsal, right? She says it's red meat, okay, beef, and the marbling on the steak, they just melt in your mouth. This is a very interesting expression because we often say a very similar saying in Korean too. It's almost just directly translated. Melt in your mouth. Melt. 녹다. In your mouth. 입안에서. 입안에서 녹다. Exactly same thing. Something melts in your mouth. It means it's delicious, right? Okay. So she's saying the pork belly, the red meat, and the marbling on the steak. It's so delicious. It just melts in your mouth. Now, Peter says, you're making me hungry now. Let's go hit one of the restaurants. Hit in this case means what? To go. Let's go to one of those restaurants. Let's hit one of those restaurants. Let's go in person and check out one of those restaurants. Sounds like they are hungry. I'm actually very hungry too. Hope you're not hungry. Okay, let's check out the actual talk conversation one more time.
Speaking of cooking, what are your favorite restaurants?
I don't have a particular favorite restaurant, but I love eating meat. Anything to do with meat, I'm sold.
So you're not a fruits and vegetables type
I
of girl?
love I love a good fruit salad as well, but I do have to have a piece of meat on the table every single meal. So if it's not
helpful, yeah.
if it's not red meat, it has to be fish. If it's not fish, it has to be chicken. So anything meaty has to be on the table at every single meal.
Portobello mushrooms can be very meaty.
Oh no, it's not the same. It's not the same. It has to be on the side, but I do have to have a good piece of meat. You look like you could throw a good barbecue.
I love barbecuing, and forget restaurants. I like to go to my friend's house who's
Right.
barbecuing some bratwurst and some,
You're talking
corn
about
on the
sausages, right?
yeah, corn on the cob and things like that. But I had a favorite restaurant back in Minneapolis. It was called Buca Little Italy, and it's family style Italian, which means they serve.
Big
They don't give
hearty
you
meals.
they don't give you each a plate. They give you one huge platter in the center, and you share, because that's the way you would eat at a family in Italy. So it was a really fun experience. I very much enjoyed going there. I haven't been there in years though.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So you're gonna go back soon and try it
Maybe
out?
next summer.
Oh, nice. You should let me know where it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd enjoy it.
What about you? Do you get out to restaurants much?
In Korea, yes. I think most of the meals are eaten outside the home. But they have a lot of good grilling, Korean barbecue grill places. So if it's not pork belly, it's red meat. And the marbling on the steaks. They just melt in your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the chewiness as well.
You're making me hungry now.
Yeah. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
let's go hit one of the restaurants.
Yeah, sure.
Now, was it a bit easier for you to understand the actual talk conversation? I sure hope so. Now, we've gone over many, many vocabulary words today and expressions and patterns. Let's first of all go over a few vocab words and find out how they should be pronounced. I've got three for you. The first one is particular. Particular. This is a tricky word to pronounce. You see it everywhere, here, there. It means what? It means specific, special, right? So let's take a look at perhaps two ways of pronouncing it. As you see, it's P-E-R, per, per, and in this case, there is no R sound. It's a P, P. So let's try it out. Particular, particular. This time, P. Particular, particular. It's your choice. You can choose to pronounce it either way. Okay, one more time. Particular or particular. Some people say particular. Kind of sounds awkward, so keep that in mind. And then moving on to our second word here is marbling. That's right, marble. But also we're talking about the marbling in like steaks, meat, right? So marbling. Keep in mind, it's two syllables. It's not marbling, it's marbling, marbling. Once again, marbling. Good job. And our final word is pork belly. 삼겹살, the tummy part, right? So it's pork belly. Stress goes right here on the belly. Pork belly, pork belly. Great job. Okay, let's check out some patterns then. I think I've got about 4 for you today. Actually, yeah, 4. The first one is anything to do with something, I'm sold. Joanne said something similar to anything to do with meat, I'm sold, right? So let's take a look. This means you like it so much. You love it. You would do anything for it. Anything to do with seafood, I'm sold. This is what I would say, really. Anything to do with seafood, I'm sold. So it basically means you would do anything for whatever it is. You really enjoy eating it. You love it. Here's one more. Anything to do with Mexican food, I'm sold. Very simple, right? It means I love Mexican food. Let's move on to our next pattern. I have to have something on the table every single meal. This part can actually be omitted. You don't have to say it, but to help you understand, I've included it. Here, I have to have kimchi on the table every single meal. Okay, so once again, if you are a Korean, yes, we must, we have to. We've got to have kimchi on the table every single meal, right? One more, I have to have a kind of soup on the table every morning. All right, that's for me as well. I need to have some kind of soup. 저는 국물이 필요하더라고요. 국, good. I have to have a kind of soup on the table every morning. Our next pattern, if it's not A, it has to be B. If it's not A, it's gotta be B. Let's check it out. If it's not rice, it has to be noodles. Same case for me. Another one. If it's not spicy, it has to be sweet. So once again, what does this mean? It means that you love rice and you also love noodles. In this case, if it's not spicy, it has to be sweet. You love spicy foods and you also love sweet foods as much. Moving on to our final pattern. They give you one huge blank in the center and you share. The reason I picked out this pattern is because this is a sentence pattern you can use when talking about Korean food, right? Because we usually have like a stew, or when we go to a restaurant, we can grill any kind of meat right in the center of the table. So here are a few sample sentences. They give you one huge stew, 찌개, in the center and you share. Everyone dives in to enjoy it. Here is another one, our final sentence. They give you one huge chunk of meat in the center and you share. A chunk of is what? A big block of something, 덩어리 in Korean. So yeah, sometimes you may go to Italian restaurants and order a certain menu. They will give you a huge block, a huge chunk of meat, place it in the center of the table, and everyone shares it together. Everyone enjoys it together. Okay, that is all for our expressions and our vocab, everyone. Well, that's a wrap for this segment.
My favorite foods are definitely by far spicy foods. So anything that's bad for you, anything that's unhealthy, I love eating spicy food. So I think being in Korea is really great for me because, of course, Korea has a lot of spicy foods to offer. But at the same time, it's not very healthy to eat spicy food all the time. So I do love going out to all these different restaurants, and I love, Korean seafood like 쭈꾸미. Spicy 쭈꾸미 is really great, or eating like kimchi stew. Like in the winter, that's really amazing too, these spicy foods. So I love going out to eat, and I love eating these spicy foods with my friends who always complain that the food is too spicy. I try to cook at home sometimes, these spicy foods, but I think it's good to vary going in and going out to eat.
Well, you and I have something very much in common. I love spicy foods. I throw in what they call 청양고추, those red peppers, and almost everything I cook at home, and I always get in trouble. My mom, she yells at me for doing that. Anyhow, let's get straight to what she has mentioned in today's actual story. Wonderful sentences. First of all, my favorite foods are definitely, by far, spicy foods. This is a wonderful way of putting together a sentence. Definitely is a way of stressing something. By far is yet another way of stressing it even more. By far means, similarly to definitely, means absolutely, completely, all the way. So she's stressing it twice. Definitely, by far, spicy foods. I love spicy foods. Another one, Korea has many kinds of spicy foods to offer. Now, it does not mean that Korea really will give you, as in offer you, a lot of foods, but it basically means that you will find a lot of different kinds of, or many kinds of spicy foods. The next one, I love eating spicy foods with my friends. And then she adds some extra info by saying, who always complain that the food is too spicy. So this is a wonderful sentence to add in the center of or in the middle of your response, because it just goes to show how spicy you want or like your food to be. And here is our final sentence. She says, I think it's good to vary going in and going out to eat. We don't really say go in to eat. We do say go out to eat, but the in here is just a fun way of making the sentence a bit more interesting, okay? Go in, go out to eat, meaning stay in, eat at home or go out to eat. I think it's good to vary, differentiate. In this case, it means to kind of interchange the two. Try this one time and then try the other the next time. Okay, wonderful job. Well, that is all for today's actual story.
My favorite foods are definitely by far spicy foods. So anything that's bad for you, anything that's unhealthy, I love eating spicy food. So I think being in Korea is really great for me because, of course, Korea has a lot of spicy foods to offer. But at the same time, it's not very healthy to eat spicy food all the time. So I do love going out to all these different restaurants, and I love, Korean seafood like 쭈꾸미. Spicy 쭈꾸미 is really great, or eating like kimchi stew. Like in the winter, that's really amazing too, these spicy foods. So I love going out to eat, and I love eating these spicy foods with my friends who always complain that the food is too spicy. I try to cook at home sometimes, these spicy foods, but I think it's good to vary going in and going out to eat.
As we've seen in today's actual story, now, she did mention that she really loves spicy foods, and she gave us an idea of how spicy she likes her food by mentioning something that her friends comment about, what her friends complain about, how they say, oh, it's too spicy. Now, what you could do actually is add some more info to that. The next time you happen to talk about this topic, or even do an interview in English and you have to talk about your favorite foods. For example, you can mention a special recipe that you have. I would even talk about how I make my ramyeon or other dishes, how I like to throw in some red hot chili peppers. So that is another way of trying to, or actually making your interview answer or your response much more interesting. Okay, today we talked about our favorite foods, and next time I'll be joining you back with another food-related topic. So it's going to be based on eating in and eating out. Sounds like a lot of fun, right? Okay, in the meantime, come visit us at our homepage. The address is www.ebse.co.kr. Come by to leave us a comment. Questions are always welcome as well. Or even a simple hello is wonderful as well. Oh, and while you're at our homepage, if you can think of a topic that you would like me to maybe go over on one of our lessons, let me know for sure. Okay, everyone, job well done. That's all for today. I'll catch you again next time. Bye for now.